What's something that you can do better than anyone else you know? This is such an important question to answer for anyone, really, but especially for you and me as INFJs. What would you love to do if you could do any kind of work? And not only would you love to do, but what would you excel at doing? And then what would meet people's needs? When you're thinking about the kind of work you want to do as an INFJ, these are some really big questions to ask. And it all boils down to your unique ability or your greatest strength. It's that thing that, again, you can do that no one else around you can do quite like you. And maybe there's some other people out there. Certainly, it's a huge world. There's billions of people out there, but this is something that not many people you know can do as easily as you. We tend to discount our abilities and really focus on what we do not as well as other people. We're quick to compare ourselves, or we think about areas of weakness, at least if you're like me. But when you're thinking about the kind of work that you want to do, at least long term, it's really helpful to think about your strengths. And there are a couple ways that you can get at your strengths. But one big way to think about your strengths is to look back into the past and think about what you have always enjoyed doing. This is one of the things that I teach in my course that helps people understand themselves as INFJs. It's important to stop and think about, hey, if I look back at the past, what have I enjoyed doing when I was a child? What did I enjoy? What did I enjoy when I was in middle school and high school and so on? What do people remember me as doing? That is a big trail that points you in the direction of something that you probably should do. And it's usually something that energizes you, something that you go to naturally. So when I think back about my own personal experience, I was always collecting facts about a particular topic and gathering information about it. I remember sitting in front of Discovery Channel and watching shows on various animals, loving gathering the facts and distinguishing the different creatures from each other, sitting down with reptile and amphibian guides and fish identification guides. I've just always enjoyed identifying things. So it's not a big surprise that I like to understand what makes people the way they are and what separates different kinds of people from other kinds of people. So you can look back in your life and find some of those specifics out. That's one thing to do. You can also ask other people what their thoughts are about you. And speaking of which, I've been reading a great book that I'd highly recommend to really anybody, but to you as an INFJ, as you think about the kind of work that you want to do. And it's called Unique Ability. It pretty much boils down a concept that's common, and it's that if you're going to find a job that you really love and that actually helps the world more than anything else you could do, when you find the place where your strengths, your talents, I should say, your passions, what you really love to do, and the world's need coincide, where they all come together. You could probably do some things that are areas in your area of strength well, but if you're not excited about them, passionate about them, then it's going to be a struggle to motivate yourself. But the things that you really enjoy doing, that you're passionate about, are going to energize you, and you're going to be able to do them for a long time. In fact, these are the things that you probably already naturally do just because you want to, and you can continue to grow in these areas. You keep coming back to them, and the ceiling is limitless. And this great book covers a lot of those topics, and I don't endorse everything in the book, but I really appreciate a lot of the thoughts it puts forth. So I'd highly recommend checking this one out. They'll also encourage you in this book to go and take Strength Finders, which I think will have some common results for a lot of INFJs. Like many INFJs are learners, for instance, and they love to take in information. That's probably not a surprise. A lot of them appreciate harmony, but there's some other great traits that'll help you understand yourself better. So there's a few tips in this book, like a few assessments you could take. They mentioned taking the Kobe as well, but they just talk about how to work this strength into your day-to-day life and how to use it in finding and making a career. And speaking about career, when you're thinking about what you do well and you're thinking about the long haul, don't be too discouraged if the careers that you're looking at as time goes by fit you to a certain extent, but they're never quite the right match. I think for a lot of us INFJs, it's hard, and really for people out there, it can sometimes be hard to plug in to one particular job. Now, if you have a job you like and you're happy with it, that's great. But if you find that something's missing, that it's not quite what you've always wanted to do, then don't stop there necessarily. I mean, we do live in an imperfect world, and there's probably always going to be at least like 20% of the work that we do that we're not going to enjoy. But if there is a significant amount of time where you're not getting to do what you really do well and love to do and could benefit other people by doing, then don't give up, because it's a long journey to figuring out what you want to do. And starting with your strengths again can be a great place to begin. Don't play that comparison game. Don't look at your weaknesses, but think about the positives, the strengths that you can contribute to the world, because that's where other people are really going to benefit. And specifically for a lot of INFJs, I'd encourage you to be thinking about places where you can be an expert, where you can bring that research ability and your love of gathering information and understanding why things are the way they are, understanding the way the world works, and doing it to the benefit of others, to helping others. And often that shows up in the form of sharing as an expert and acting as a writer, as a coach. Now, that's not all INFJs for sure. Some people are really visually oriented or are great with cameras and whatever, but where you're getting to continue to use that learner ability and also bring your expertise to the table to help people, that's usually a good area of strength to start with. So I encourage you to check this book out. I think it's going to encourage you. And I also want to encourage you to focus on your strengths rather than things you want to shore up, because I think when you really pour into your strengths and make them even stronger and see and find work or even create work that really meets other people's needs, that matches your talents and your passions, it's going to energize you enormously. That's one of the reasons that I really enjoy doing this, because I get to keep up with the technology. It's always changing. And I love that I get to keep learning that. I get to share an area of expertise where I really enjoy learning about people and sharing what makes them tick. And then I get to help people with that. I love doing it through writing, through videos, through coaching. It's a really good fit. And I know a lot of INFJs who fit in this field. I mentioned before Michael Hyatt. I don't know if you've heard of him. I think he just changed his company to Full Focus, but he pretty much is a coach. And I think as an INFJ, no one quite fits the model of coach quite as well. I mean, there are certainly like other intuitive introverts that do it well, and even intuitives, but INFJs have an uncanny ability to listen really well and then get to the heart of the matter and help people figure out what the real questions are and then come up with their own solutions and set goals. And they also, INFJs, are really good at helping people look ahead in the future and visualize what could be when others that they're working with can't always see that. So that's a really powerful trait. But I want you to think about your strengths. I encourage you to check out this book, again, Unique Ability, and I'll link it either below the video or in the show notes. I'll put it in both places for you to check out, because I think it's going to be a big encouragement to you. And I encourage you not to quit too. The journey of figuring out a career, if you haven't found one yet, that is really interesting to you, can take a while. It doesn't happen overnight. It may happen over a series of decades, really, to get to a place where you find work that fits you. And that's a big encouragement that I've been learning a lot lately, that you often don't get there right away, but you can be taking steps each day to be strengthening your great ability, what you do well, your unique ability, and then putting it to use in a way that benefits other people. And you've been made with a purpose. You have a purpose, and it can really help other people. So it's important that you steward it well and that you develop it. It's the people that take the time to develop their unique gifts that really make an impact on the world. And it starts with making a habit of just spending time and looking for ways that you can work on that unique ability and do it more and more. And again, it's going to be something that energizes you. It's going to be something that you're good at. And that ultimately, when you get connected to the right audience, that's what the author of this book called The Fundamental Relationship. When you, with your strength, find the people that appreciate it and can reward you for it the most, when that relationship is connected, then things really get going. But don't quit if you haven't found it right away. It can happen, and it takes time to develop it. So keep at it. And that concept is one that I think will be a big encouragement to you. So don't compare, but think about your strengths and think outside the box. Maybe you don't fit into a traditional career. Maybe you need to look more at like writer, speaker, coach, or something similar that's going to harness your unique gifts. But I encourage you to check out this book, Unique Ability, or at least to think about what it is that you do better than anyone else you know. Because if you can narrow it down to that and try to describe it in a word or a pithy statement, that can really help you understand yourself better. And it can help you do work that is going to serve others, but also energize you and just feel purposeful and like the right fit. So I hope this video, this podcast, whatever form you're consuming it, is an encouragement to you today. By the way, if you have other questions or topics that you want to hear about, that you'd like me to share about, please get back to me in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. It's always helpful to get your input as I think about creating new content. Looking forward to seeing you on the next show.